here's what we know. We know that we've got this affordable housing problem out there. We know that housing needs to be affordable for our society to work that way that we want. We can't have a society of haves and have-nots, right? We need to make sure that there is a place for the middle class. We need to make sure that there is a place for affordable options for people to live. And the government knows this too. And so what the government has done is really focused on creating incentives and incentives, subsidies for developers to go out there and create this affordable housing stock. And it is something that I think should be really celebrated, right? Anything that we can do to create more affordable housing in mass is going to help all of us. And, but if you can do it without having to give all of these incentive dollars, wow, that I think would be the win across the board for everybody because, the general public doesn't like incentives to go to big bad developers. And so I wanted to kind of thread this needle here with you guys of showing you just in Jacksonville how this affordable housing works and the type of incentive dollars that are going towards it because we need affordable housing, because the government knows we need it. And then hit you with a little something that you might not have put the dots together on. So let me show you this here. Here's an article from the Jacksonville Business Journal. It was just last week, and it talks about how most of the time, these big developers are using government incentives and subsidies. And I want you to know that I think that's a wonderful thing because it's going to solve the big problem. But here's an example. So this is a project that just was announced called The Lost at South Bank, and it consists of 100 apartment units, 80 of which will be reserved for renters making 60% of the area's annual median income, and all of the units will be rented to people making less than 120% of the area's median income. What you should take from that is that's affordable and that's workforce housing. All right. But then at the bottom, it talks about how the company is seeking $20 million from the state and tax credit equity to develop the property. And it's also asking the Downtown Investment Authority for $600,000 to help it secure the tax credit it applies for. And I just want to say that I think this is wonderful. Incentives are helping here. But I also want to connect the dots because JWB is the largest provider of affordable housing in Jacksonville that has never received any incentive dollars to do it. And if there is a way to get affordable housing and we don't have to create incentive dollars to do it, I think that's something we can all be a part of. So the way that we do this, of course, is by being able to build infill lots like we are talking about and being able to sell those lots either to investors like you or to be able to sell those lots to owner occupants like Terra and JWB Realty Group get to do. But that's huge, guys, right? Not only are we able to provide 42% of all of the homes that sold on the market last year under $300,000, but not a single amount of government subsidies or incentives was required to do that. It makes me feel pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think the big thing that the reason incentives are going that way is to solve the density problem, right? And we have creatively thought of a way to work on density as well, and that's through the ability to build an infill lots rather than needing 5 acres to build 300 units, right? We're able to build units throughout all of the neighborhoods. And I think the interesting part about that is we are continuing to raise the appreciation of homes in the neighborhoods that we work in by continuing to build in those neighborhoods.
Bring up a good point. Why don't we shed a little more color on that? Sometimes when people are investing in rental properties with JWB, they say, number one, I don't know if I can sell that house later on. And then number two, how do I know that it's going to appreciate? Because people have this preconceived notion that if you're buying a rental property in a neighborhood where there are a number of rental properties, that it must not appreciate.
Right.
Can you debunk some of those thoughts or some of those myths there?
Yeah, when we look at the properties we currently have available for our owner occupants, they're in the same neighborhoods that you're investing in. They're in Arlington, they're in the north side, they're in west side, they're in those same neighborhoods right next to, right? Like Chenango, right next to the ones that are going for our investors. And it's a great opportunity for, what is it that Pablo always says, rising tide
lifts all boats?
Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening.
There you go. And that flexibility that we have because of Tara's leadership and JWB Realty Group it's critical to know that JWB as a company can survive and thrive in any real estate market. That's the reason that we started in 2006 and we're here 18 years later, and we've endured pandemics and eviction moratoriums and all these good things. It's because we have incredible flexibility as a vertically integrated operator. And maybe if you could shed some light on some of the neighborhoods, how do we make the decisions of what to make as a retail home, one that would sell to an owner occupant, and how do we make the decision of what would sell to a turnkey investor?
So a lot of that depends on what's happening in the market at the time. I mean, in 2020, there were a lot less retail homes available because our demand for investment properties was much higher. But a lot of what we're doing is just looking at the basic numbers, investment-wise, what makes sense, and then to the market right now, what makes sense. And we're not cherry picking anything. Most of what we're doing is just saying, hey, for our amount of sales that we need right now for investors, these three work, and for our retail side, these three work.
And it's flexibility.
Absolutely.
There's more than enough to go around for all of our owner occupants as well as our turnkey investors. So that flexibility really helps. All right, guys. So here's the thing. When you invest with JWB, here's what you're doing. You're a part of the affordable housing solution. You're not a part of the affordable housing problem. When you invest with JWB, you're investing in housing inventory that is probably new to the market. It's either a brand new home or it was a newly renovated home that probably wasn't lived in before. So this is all new inventory that you're bringing to the market, and new supply, new inventory is the #1 solution to be able to solve the affordable housing crisis. And as a special little side note, that's all new inventory serving affordable housing that requires no government assistance. When you invest with JWB, you're providing workforce housing, which is the most needed section of housing that we can provide there. When you invest with JWB, you are indirectly helping to build additional for sale inventory, just like we've talked about with JWB Realty Group. You're helping through your rental property investments, you're creating a platform for more for sale inventory as well. How about this one? When you invest with JWB, you're creating more tax revenue, which contributes to going and paying all of our essential workers, our teachers, which Tara was a teacher in a former life, so that's why I look at her there. You're always a teacher. You always teach us. But we love our teachers, and if we want to be able to pay our teachers more, part of that comes from our property tax revenue, or firefighters, or police. So when you're investing in a JWB property, that's what you're contributing to. And when you're able to pay our essential workers more, those who work in workforce housing, who live in workforce housing neighborhoods and work those jobs, you're able to solve the affordable housing crisis, not just from the supply side, but also from the side of raising their median incomes as well, which ultimately is how you make housing more affordable. And then lastly, when you invest with JWB and you buy raffle tickets and you contribute and you sponsor the golf tournament, all of those good things, you're doing the most one-to-one thing you can possibly do to solve the affordable housing crisis, which is supporting JWB Cares so that we can build and donate a home to a very deserving resident of JWB and change their life. And so if you're not feeling good about where your dollars are going before, hopefully you do now, because that's the real. That is exactly what's happening. And I want you to feel good beyond some of those headlines that we read out there.